Welcome back, family. Welcome to another episode of Bettermindz Interrupting. I'm Trini, your lovely host, and I'm also here with Maria, Brown Girl Interrupting. How are you this evening?
Good evening, fam. I am fabulous. It's Friday Eve, right? And we are just about to, have a good weekend, hopefully. So I'm hoping that it's warming up and the sun is coming out. It's springtime. That's a good thing, right?
Yes,
How are
yes,
you?
we need a little bit of warm weather. I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. I can't complain. I can't complain. I won't complain.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It's Ramadan. There's no complaining.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's reflection, not complaining, right?
That's right. So, what are we talking about today?
What's our topic, Mama?
Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? A lot of people, this might be the first time you heard of this term. It may not be. And we're going to find out if you are suffering by just a little easy quiz I'm going to give you in the short few. So to get into, I'm going to start off with the statistics. So the studies have found that 70% of all people feel like imposters at one time or another in their life. So let's define it. What is imposter syndrome? It is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. You may experience feelings of not belonging or deserving your success, or are unable to internalize success. Almost as if receiving positive feedback makes you feel good about themselves. It's supposed to, right? Mm-hmm. Positive feedback supposed to make you feel good about yourself, right? And confident and in your ability. However, if you have the imposter syndrome, you may feel like the praise or the positive feedback is overestimating. It's overestimating your ability rather than an accurate reflection. Almost like you killing somebody's compliment. Right? So, yeah. Any and everyone can suffer from this. There's no particular person. This is not a disability. It's just one of those things where you might be like, I'm not good enough. I don't think my paper is going to get a good grade. I don't think I can learn that. That don't seem like that's something I can do. That is too hard. I can't do that at all. Like downing yourself. You can't do anything. And although that you're doing it, you're telling yourself that you can't. So, imposter syndrome can lead to a drop in job performance and job satisfaction, while increasing anxiety and depression. Everyone is vulnerable to imposter syndrome, but it happens mostly to women and people of color. Go back again. What Kennedy say? How are you, Kennedy? I haven't seen you in a while.
Welcome. It's good to have you here in the chat, Kennedy.
Yes. Kennedy said, I never suffer from it. I stay talking my shit and I love me. Self-preservation and such. I be chilling. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
So can we take a moment, because I think this is so important, because it's really like it's it's debilitating. When you have imposter syndrome, you can't sometimes like grow in something you're doing because you're so scared that you're not doing it well, and like you really like internalize this feeling of not being smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, like capable enough, right?
That's right.
um which is pretty like and it's like I've definitely felt it. I'm sure like you've had it before, like we've all had it at some point, and it's definitely like based on whatever's happening in your life too, right?
Right.
But I was also thinking, like, I think there's so many ways it must show up. And I'm wondering, like, it's, like we talk about a lot of times it in like professional experiences, right? But does it
Mm-hmm.
also come into like relationship dynamics,
Yeah.
like an imposter syndrome? Like, I wonder, do people have it in parenting, right? Do they have
Yes.
it
In all
in
areas of life.
Okay, so that's what I was curious about. I'm like, does it spread across and beyond just your skills in like professional and school and things like that?
Yeah. All over. As a matter of fact, I'm so glad that you come prepared with your pen and pad. I'm about to give you a quiz, and I want all of y'all to do the quiz as well. Just write yes or no. It's 6 questions. Okay? Then I'm going to tell you how you grade yourself. Do you feel you don't deserve your achievements? Yes or no? Write it down. Good evening, Mr. Jones. The second one, do you ever worry that people will find out you are secretly not worthy? Yes or no? After a success, do you dismiss it as just good luck or timing? Yes or no? Do you think you have tricked others into thinking you are more successful than you actually are? Yes or no? I need y'all to be honest. Don't be fronting. Do you apologize for yourself even if you didn't do anything wrong? Yes or no? Do you think others overvalue your success? Yes or no?
These are tough.
Gotta
These
be
are
honest.
tough.
Gotta be honest.
Well, and so I'm gonna be honest. The other thing is like how I answer them today versus how I would answer them like a year ago are different too.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna
So
focus on the present.
okay.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is just basic insight, okay? Nothing serious, but if you want to get serious, come to your life coach training and we can get serious.
Right.
Okay,
And
but until then, if you answer 2 yeses or more out of that question, it's a big possibility that you have imposter syndrome. And the more you answer yes to, the more you have it.
Ooh. So it's not necessarily about what questions we answered. And I saw Mr. Jones in there doing his answers too.
Yeah,
and I saw a good mix in there, some yeses, some nos. But I love the active engagement. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Always here for us.
Yes.
But also it's just about the yes, because it was interesting. I was like, oh, I don't have imposter syndrome anymore. But then now when you said that, I'm like, oh wait, no, I do. Wait, hold on, wait, I got too many yeses.
Well, okay, so you said you do. Now, it can work for you, and it might not can't work for you. It depends on how you maneuver, okay? So, but let's see which category you fit under. There's 5 types of imposters.
Okay. I like
Okay,
this. I'm
so
excited to learn this now because now I'm wondering like which questions matter. So I'm assuming this is connected to which questions get you to where you are.
yes, yes.
And
Tennessee say,
we can't all be like Hennessy, it looks like, right?
you know, what do you say? Go back, Joe. But until he pulled that back, we're going to go into the 5 different types of imposters. The first one we're going to talk about is that perfectionist, right? So the perfectionist focuses on how something should be done. It needs to be more than perfect each and every time. At this moment, when it is no longer perfect, imposter syndrome kicks in. The characteristics of this perfectionist: you hold yourself to the highest standard, you micromanage, you deliver a successful presentation and still beat yourself up because you forgot one minor detail. You never settle for anything less other than gold. And if it is not gold, you deem it as a failure. Okay? So, perfectionists can work on this though. How? I'm going to give you some few little steps that you can do.
Okay, wait,
So,
before you do, I gotta ask a question. Because as you're saying it, I'm wondering, is imposter syndrome on a continuum? So there's like it's not just different types, but it's levels of how extreme your imposter syndrome is to how like less aggressive it is.
right, because you could start off saying, you could start a new job. And you could start off saying, dang, this is an important position. I don't think I'm good enough for this position. I don't think I'm going to be able to handle this job. And then you there 15 years later and you 100% at it. You no longer feel like that. So it can dissipate over time. If that was, if I answered your question.
Well, so that's one piece of it. But then, like, is it like, so if I'm a perfectionist, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just said those are pretty intense things, high standards, everything needs to be perfect. I micromanage, even a minor thing means I failed, right? That's like a lot, right? So if the things that I try to accomplish, anything goes wrong, I feel like now I really am not good enough because I have an imposter syndrome. So that to me is like this high extreme level of imposter syndrome.
Right.
But then you talked about like other questions. Like you haven't said any of the examples, right? But I'm just wondering, like, are there different levels to it where like, so what if it's whatever you're going to describe is a little less intense, then it's like on a continuum because it's like different degrees of imposter syndrome.
But it can dissipate over time, like I said.
Right.
Right.
But can it, okay. All right.
Right.
Okay.
It can
All
continue, right. But over time, it can also dissipate. It can stay there if you stay in that mindset of fear all the time, that you're never good enough for stuff, if you're not willing to grow. And that's also a fixed mindset. Sometimes a fixed mindset is hard to change. But all perfectionists is not the same. There's some things that's in there, you know, that we have to add. So I will say, what can we do about these perfectionists? What can you work on with these imposter syndromes? The actions that you can take, and Mario, you know, I love this. You can say imperfection affirmations, okay, to get you out of this everything got to be perfect mindset. You can say stuff such as it's okay to be 75% done and not 100% complete. It's better to do well now than wait and do it perfectly later. I don't have to rush to get it done as long as it gets done. That's taking you out of that perfectionist mindset. Also, something that you can do is something you might want to do, you might don't want to do. But you can do an incomplete drawing. Set your timer for 2 minutes and draw, I don't know, a landscape, and try not to finish it. But draw, take your time. And when that timer goes off, you need to look at it as a great goal instead of it being incomplete. It's going to take a perfectionist some time to get over that, because 2 minutes to draw a landscape might not be enough time. So there will be some incomplete. You got to be okay with that. So that's just for the perfectionist. And please have realistic goals. So, do you fall in that category?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a perfectionist, because I believe that, like, I've definitely had imposter syndrome, and this is kind of what I was asking is, like, but I'm not a perfectionist in it, right? Like, I don't believe that if I make one mistake that everything is not good, right? But I believe in growth, right? But like, but I do have imposter syndrome in that I do want things to be successful, right? So that's a different level of still having an imposter syndrome, because if to me it doesn't feel like it was successful, then it's not like that could be an imposter syndrome, but it's not the same as a perfectionist.
Right. Okay, so let's see if you fall under this category. The natural genius. So if you think you should always be smart, a fast learner, or excel at everything you're taught, then this is you. Some don't realize there's a mid-stage process called learning that takes beginners to the pro level. So let's dig into some of these characteristics of the natural genius. They believe people are born talented or skilled. They get frustrated easily and may quickly switch from one hobby to another. They see everyone around them as achieving success while they are the only ones failing. This is also a fixed mindset. Cultivating a growth mindset can help you overcome your genius complex. Let's dive into the growth mindset. What is this growth mindset we're talking about? Well, you know, I'm all about definition. So it is the belief that with effort, you can improve your abilities, skills, and talents. The opposite of this fixed mindset, which believes that people are born with talents or skills rather than earn them. So if you always been rich, you don't expect other people to be beneath you. So when you come across them, they deem as peasants or poor, because you've never been in that environment. You think people automatically should be rich. Why are you broke? Right?
Right.
This is an example of a fixed mindset. And so any thoughts on this natural genius?
Yeah, actually, so I have a lot of thoughts, but I want us to go to the chat first, because I want to bring some thoughts up that our audience has, and then I have something I want to share about it, because I'm curious.
Okay.
So Kenneth C says, I'm no natural genius, but I learn from trial and error, and I learn and achieve realist goals. So that's not a natural genius. That's not the belief. Let's be honest. It's not that it's not a natural genius. It's not a belief in natural genius.
Right.
Right. Okay. Good evening.
Living reviews. Kenneth C, I am not a perfectionist. If I F up, I just F it up. and try it again to see what works. Don't bother me like that.
So, and all right, and Kennedy's saying, now I do believe people should have some form of common sense and morals. That's true. That's true.
Agreed.
Right? So you can still have high expectations for others too, right? And you can
Agreed.
have a high expectations for yourself. But I think what I was thinking when you said natural genius is I was making a connection to in education. Like, so when you have kids who naturally get certain things, and you keep encouraging them thinking that it's just about this, like, oh, you're so smart, rather than you're a hard worker. When it comes to a moment in their like academics and like they start things to get hard and they're not successful, they now believe that they're an imposter because they've been told that they were so smart, they had this natural genius. And now they believe that natural genius isn't there, so something's wrong with them, rather than, I think, going back to what Kennedy said, right? It's about hard work, it's trial and error, it's problem solving.
Right. But I need y'all to keep in mind, this is while being in the imposter syndrome. Keep that in mind.
Right. So this is the imposter syndrome though, right? Like, so,
yes.
But is that, I would say, or I would ask maybe, is some of those messages the roots of some of those imposter syndromes?
Yes. These are literally for people that are suffering from imposter syndrome. But you fall into one of these 5 categories. So don't take just keep it with the imposter syndrome. Don't go on the outskirts.
Okay. So, and I guess for me, I'm connecting the imposter syndrome to the fact that people say things to you that then make you feel the imposter syndrome, possibly. But you're saying no, people don't say things to you to make you feel the imposter syndrome, is what you're saying?
No, repeat that again.
So my example of students feeling the way they do, right, is the idea that people have told them that they are smart. So then when they're not successful, they have now internalized this natural genius belief, which is an imposter syndrome.
Right.
And they question whether or not they actually are smart because they've been hearing they were smart instead of they were hardworking, or that they were good at solving something, right? So the imposter syndrome is coming from other people giving them the message of natural genius. Right.
Your example was a good example of imposter syndrome. So, what can you do about the growth mindset in the natural genius category? You'll start believing in the power of putting in concentrated effort towards your goals, as what you just explained in your example.
So it's the shift from fixed to growth mindset, rather than it's this fixed genius. It's a growth mindset that I always have a way of growing and getting better at things.
Right. And it goes right back to that example you mentioned with with your question with the continuing. Right? Okay. So we don't fall under in that category either, right? You think you do? Hold on, let's get through all of them first. I don't think so.
I think there might have been no, I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I definitely don't.
Let's get through all of them first. And then maybe you'll decide. Okay, so then we have the expert. The experts strive for more knowledge, more experience, more awards, and they think they don't have enough. They strive to be perfect because they want to please others. Keyword please others. Because they want to believe there's always someone better out there, which makes them feel like an imposter. Right? So, the characteristics of this category, the expert, you tend to prepare yourself fully by diving into books, courses, trainings, etc. before attempting a big project or presentation. You avoid applying for positions because you don't meet all the qualifications. Even if you've been teaching or working the same job for years, you still feel like you're not good enough. Any thoughts on that one?
No, I think that was pretty clear. That's I don't know if there's like the most common of these, but I would say that's probably a pretty common one that I'm familiar with. But I'm gonna
Okay.
let you go through all of them before I pick mine. I'm taking notes.
I'm gonna tell you, I have moments of this at times. I'm gonna tell you, I'll let you know at the end. But so the fix for this is to recognize there's never an end to knowledge. Instead of always accumulating more knowledge and skills, only accumulate them when needed. Don't over exert your brain. In other words, focus 100% on one skill instead of diving your attention to learn everything. So, that was for that one. I saw a comment pop up. Kennedy, that damn sure ain't me. I don't think I'm better than others, but it's certainly mofos you know like. I know I'm better than this mofo. That's true. There are people out there like that. So number 4, we have the rugged individualist. This individual believes they can do everything themselves and prefer to do things without asking for help. They believe this is a sign of weakness because they should know what they're doing. The characteristics of this is you feel like you need more time for prep. You prefer solo projects versus group tasks. And you don't ask for help even if you need it. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so my thoughts on that is as soon as you said it, I was thinking of the connection. And okay, I'm gonna go a little bit off, but I think it's important because it connects, right?
Yeah.
iRent Network says, "Can they go in deep today?" That's not right. We always do. We always do. We go in the trenches, right?
Yeah, we gotta go in them trenches.
So rugged individualism is like the core of so much of like our society's beliefs about meritocracy.
Yes.
Right? Like it's
Yes.
the whole idea that like, you can in the trenches.
In the trenches.
But look, and y'all already know I'm a total geek and nerd. This is what I do, right? but it's a connection, and it goes to this. It's the idea that that it's the bootstrap theory, right? You just pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you just work hard by yourself and you do it all by yourself, you'll get there because everybody has the same opportunities, right? I think it's a really unhealthy imposter syndrome because if you believe that narrative, then the structures that are all still barriers to you aren't being considered, or barriers to others, right? So,
right.
It's a very like dominant culture,
Behavior.
white narrative, right? About like
it is. It's common. That's why the sticks. That's why that percentage is so high. 70%. It's high because it is possible. So let's see. How can they fix this? The rugged individualists. This may be tough, but the problem of not asking for help could be you haven't found the right people in your circle. Because you're not comfortable asking. When you deeply needed, you're not comfortable asking. That means you're not around the right people in your circle. Ask yourself, who are the top 5 people you spend the most time with?
That's a good point.
Right? Then make sure you are around people that are dream builders and not dream crashers. We don't need no Debbie Downers, okay? Keep the Debbie Downers away.
Or dream watchers, let's be honest, right? Those
So-
folks who just watch the dreams fade away and have all kinds of ideas but never do anything, right?
Exactly. So before I go to number 5, we're going to take a break. iRant Network, pick one. Welcome back. Okay. So Maria, are you ready?
I'm ready. Number 5. I'm taking notes because I want to see. I think I know where I fit, but I want to see.
I want to see. I need to see where you at. Okay.
Well,
now
look,
this one.
And don't think you're not going to be in the hot seat in a few moments too, because I'm going to ask you where you at too. Okay. Hold on. But Kennedy says, I don't hang around nobody on they talking down BS. All that negative energy ain't for me. That's a good point, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Good stuff. Okay, so number 5. Hey, LJ.
Hello, lady. That's Carmela, right?
That's
Welcome.
Carmela. Okay, so
Welcome.
number 5. The Superwoman / Superman.
I wrote a post about that. That's funny. That's funny. You know what? You already knew. You already planned this, didn't you?
You know. Okay, so this person loves to take on more responsibility. They have a hard time saying no and often work harder than their peers. They juggle many tasks at once, even to the point of overexhaustion. Hello, Sarah. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Okay, so the characteristics of the Superwoman and the Superman is you juggle multiple tasks at once. You often find yourself working overtime, even past your team working hours. You neglect friends, family, or hobbies, your own hobbies, to work more. Any thoughts on that one?
Nah, I mean, that's it's I think what I like about what you said is that being the Superwoman or Superman is not a good thing.
Ooh.
That's important to point out, right? Because
Yes.
it's an imposter syndrome. So
That's right.
we usually have this idea that that's a good thing. I'm super and fabulous, right? But like it's not to be super and do all that, right?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not.
I know which one I got.
So hold on, before you tell me, I'm going to let the Superwoman and the Superman know how you can fix this imposter syndrome. Okay, so if you're always running in super mode, it's obvious. You're a people pleaser. You strive to do good not only for yourself, but for others. You want to impress and take extra responsibility is your idea to get there. Stop it. You don't want to do that. You don't need to do that. No. Say no. This is a challenge. The Superman and the Superwoman need to learn how to say no. Simple. Practice it. So.
And it's so liberating once you get it down, I can tell you.
Yes. Yes, it is. So, which one you fall under? Kennedy says, I like a regular woman. If she doing too much, it gets on her nerves and get on my nerves. I just smoke a blunt and be like, chill out and turn on that music and come get your back blow out.
Tennessee, always.
You
always,
and your medicine.
Always bringing the wild card. Okay.
Okay, so what category do we fall under?
All right, so you know how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna break it down as to why I don't fall in the other categories, though, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I used to be a superwoman.
Okay.
That was my former way of doing things, I will say, right? And I recall that, and I recently even just wrote a post, right, called I'm No Superwoman, literally.
Right.
But I would say I fall into the expert. Because, and here's the other thing. So because I now say no, and I don't take on too much. Like I and literally, like, I think people at my job had to be like, so you don't need to do everything. Like you can say no to this project, right? Like I was pushed by friends at work to be like, no, Maria, you don't have to do all of the all, right? Like, so I learned to get better at that. But then the other one is that like natural genius thing. Yeah. When you asked me at first, I was like, do I fit that? I never did, because honestly, I've always had to work hard. I wasn't naturally just smart. Like I had to work hard in school. I wasn't like, I had siblings that were like geniuses and they always did really well in school without trying at all. But I always had to put the extra effort in to study. I always had to put the extra effort in to figure things out. So I never saw myself as naturally genius because of that, right?
Okay.
But I will say that the expert piece is important, because that working hard made me feel like, so I got to learn everything. I got to learn everything. And I got to put a lot of time to make sure I'm good at everything I learn, because I want to be successful.
Right.
So that one, and it hit me hard when I started this job that I did 6 years ago, because I went from being, and this happens with us with imposter syndrome, is we like do something for a long time and we feel like we're an expert, and then we go into a new environment, right? And you just started a new job, right? Like, so like I would imagine that there's a moment, right, where you're like, oh my God, how'd I get this job? Am I really qualified? Like I went through so much of that in my first like 2 years of this job. I felt like I was an imposter because I didn't feel like I was an expert at something.
Okay.
And I had felt like I was an expert.
So how did that dissipate, or is it still continuing?
So it did dissipate. And for me, that came from, and I'm trying to think what you said were some of the antidotes to it, but I think for me, it was that I didn't have to be an expert, but I also had to just grow to understand that I can always get better, and I can reflect if I didn't do well on something and learn to do it better, right? So like I gave myself grace. Honestly, I gave myself grace that like if I didn't know it, well, I don't know it, right?
Right.
You know, I started a blog, I did a podcast, right? Like all these things were new things. I had to figure out how to do it better than the last time.
Right. So would that have made you almost a perfectionist?
Oh, see, I was trying not to be the perfectionist. Why are you going to put me there? I want to be in that category, Trini.
I'm just asking questions.
No, I don't think I'm a perfectionist, because it's not that I want things to be perfect. It's just that I want them to be satisfying.
Okay.
And I think there's a difference with that, because perfect is to other people's standards.
Right.
Satisfying is just that I feel like good about it.
Right. To your soul. That's right. Okay. I like that. Good answer. I can't see, but around. You know, I can't put you in that trick bag. I be trying hard to put you in the trick bag. All right. Wait, I need to hear a little more about number 4. Like, why is it their circle and not them that cause it? So number 4 was what? The rugged individualist.
Rugged individualist.
And
that's a good question.
And okay, so as a rugged individual, and that not to say that means you're not comfortable in your circle. Not to say that it's bad for you, but if you're not growing, because sometimes your circle can keep you stagnant. Your circle may be downers. And we're talking about your close. How close are you evaluating? Because if you can't ask them whether they're going to say yes or no, you should be comfortable enough and be okay with hearing yes or no.
So, can I ask to that point, like, is it that you have to have trust with others in order to be able to to reach out to them? And because rugged individualists don't trust others, they're not reaching out to other people, and they just think they have to do it all themselves. And if they don't do it all themselves, then they have failed.
Right. That's a piece of it. That's a part of it. And I guess I'm trying to understand how people can be number 4 with good folks in their circle. Well, this is what I keep saying. Keep in mind the imposter syndrome.
And that goes back to doubt.
This is just with imposter syndrome, not with a regular person that don't have imposter syndrome. You know who your circle are. You confident in yourself. You have no self-esteem issues when it comes to your endeavors. You don't have no fear. You believe in yourself. Not those people, but the person with imposter syndrome. Why do you have it? What's going on? Like you said, you should have somebody in your circle that's positive and uplifting you. I think it would have to be them, not their circle.
And it's the doubt that they have. So it's not always that, like, so when you don't trust someone, it's not necessarily that they're not because they're not trustworthy. It's because you don't trust them. So
yeah,
that could be the wrong,
it's you.
Like,
it reflects you, right? It reflects you. But this is the imposter syndrome. Most people with imposter syndrome are surrounded themselves by those that think like them. So if they have a negative mindset, they're going to be around their circle 9 times out of 10 is going to be how they think as well.
Is that also tied to insecurity?
Yeah. Not believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have an insecure of not being good enough. And that's what the imposter syndrome is, not being good enough. So, yeah. Big issue on insecurity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's turn the tables.
Turn it.
Trini, which of these 5 categories speaks to you in your imposter syndrome?
Well, you know, the superwoman for sure. For sure. And I'm like, no. But you know, every now and then I become the superwoman. It's hard to turn off because I miss help it, fix it. Okay, yes, I got you. All right, okay, I got you. It can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. So how have you been able to remedy it for you?
No.
No. No is the key. No is the biggest key with Superwoman, right?
That's it. No. That is it. No. Also, like you, the expert. Because I want to make sure that I know everything about what I'm teaching other people. Period. I want to make sure that I'm giving out facts and not opinions. You know, so the expert part, yes.
Can I ask a question about the expert piece?
Go
Because
ahead.
is it just to be able to share things with others, or do you also like to be an expert just to have that knowledge for yourself?
See, I like to have it for myself, but I always end up helping someone with the knowledge. So genuinely, yes, it's for me. And then I'm like, oh, so many other people need to know about this. So that's how that ends up. Then I'm going to have to say that I may have a genius complex because I learn easily, quick, and don't need instructions from no one. And sometimes I do, like, I'm gonna give you a prime example. When I first started working out, I was heavy. And so at, I don't know, 280 pounds, I'm doing push-ups. But then I'm training someone that is like maybe 140 pounds, and I'm like, you skinny, why you can't do a push-up? Right?
Legit question. That's
Right?
a legit question. Okay.
I'm like, hold on, I'm just happy. Why you can't do a push-up? But that's because of I just know how to put the form in, learn the form correctly, and do it. It don't come natural to other people like that. That's just a little example. But with all of these, I time myself out. I breathe. Before I make decisions on anything, I give myself at least 2 days. I think about it. So I'm not becoming overbearing, overwhelming in any situations. And also, the main key to that is self-confidence.
Mm. And so, can I ask?
Go ahead.
It's self-confidence, right? But then is it also like, because when you said that whole thing about like natural genius and exercising, right? Okay, so I'm like, I suck at exercising. Like, like I was like, that's not my natural genius in anything, right? Like, but yet I can pick up something that has nothing to do with fitness, and I can probably pick it up like this, right? Like, and not that I'm a natural genius, but just that like it came with ease. I can figure it out. But like, when you have certain things that you know are your struggle in being able to do well. And so for me, I'm just going to use the example of I can't hit a ball in any sport that requires hitting something or catching something. You are not going to see me successful, right? Which is like every sport possible, right? I have tried, but I know my limits, right? That's not my strength, right?
Right,
So like,
right.
but I've if I am a part of something like that, I definitely feel an imposter syndrome, and I don't know always how to get over it other than to give myself the grace of like, that thing, that's not for me. Like, I'm gonna be over here reading the
Right,
books and
right.
being
And
nerdy,
that's why,
and y'all go play your sports, right?
right. And
Like,
that's why it turns into the imposter syndrome because you are at that mindset, well, I know I'm smarter than a lot of stuff, but I don't know if I could do that. That's not my lane over there. You get scared. You don't take chances. You see what I'm saying? So that's where the imposter syndrome come in at.
But then if the whole thing of imposter syndrome is to be an expert at everything, isn't some of that like, to fix that expert idea, I have to give up on being an expert at everything? Like, I don't have to be an expert at everything, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to be like, I'm good at this. I'm not good at this.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm not good. It just means I'm
Right.
not good at this, right?
Right.
And that's
Correct.
okay.
Right. Right. You're all right. So, What we got going on Sunday?
Ooh, I'm excited for Sunday. It's going to be
Who we
good.
got?
It's going to be good. We have D.M. Woods. He is an author of the book called Dating 360, The Ultimate Guide to Getting What You Want. So if you're in the chat and you are in the dating world and you are curious to know more about that, then you got to come join me on my show, Pain to Power. And I think we have some info on this show coming up.
My world has slowly crumbled around me countless times, and every time I rebuild with the pieces I've been given to birth something so transformational and beautiful that no one else knew might exist before it was shown to them. These moments tend to coincide within my romantic path. The universe has been telling me to focus on the revolution and not romance. It has over time given me the tools, resilience, and light to turn my pain into power. And only now do I see that the key to this always resided in the love and knowing I had in myself, not from the external sources of family or men. The message I have been avoiding might be that my time in this world I had existed in was not to receive love, but to put it out there for others to see, feel, and heal through. Revolution before romance moves pain into power.
So I think it's an interesting irony that yes, my show is Pain to Power Leading with Love, but I will say my expert personality is part of why I moved pain into power and created this show because I needed an outlet. I needed to learn something new. I needed to create something new. So I had to push myself to learn to be, and maybe not an expert, but to learn a new skill. So come join me and see what I've done with this new skill on Pain to Power Leading with Love this Sunday at 9 o'clock it's going to be on this show, Bettermindz Interrupting. It'll be on this channel, this channel, as well as on my channel, which is Brown Girl Interrupting on YouTube, and on the Ranchers Union as well. And it is going to feature the hilarious, brilliant, and insightful author D.M. Woods, who talks about dating, but he also talks about dating in a really holistic and comprehensive way of like, what do we need to do for ourselves to be prepared for dating? And then how do we really find that right person? So if you're serious about dating and you really want some good conversation, come and join us.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds like everybody will need to be there because I'm hearing that people are getting tired of dating. I'm hearing that. It's trending, y'all. It's trending. It's all over.
Don't get me started. Oh my God. Yeah. What people say, the dating pool is full of pee. Like that is truly the case.
Wow.
It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. Be glad you're not in it.
Okay, so I want to say, remember, it's okay to feel like an imposter every once in a while, but don't let your imposter syndrome define you. And you're never alone. These tips should help you, but alongside working on your imposter syndrome directly, it could also be beneficial to work on your confidence and self-esteem. This can give you a better emotional foundation to work on while you continue your self-development. So, that was interesting. Any stories you'd like to share?
No, I love it because I think what we're talking about, though, is this connection between self-awareness and imposter syndrome, right? So the more we're aware of ourselves, because it's going to happen. I think the other thing is that it's going to happen. Like there are gonna be moments like we just talked about, both of us in our jobs or even in school. Like when I went back to taking masters after being out of college for so long, I felt like an imposter, right? Like writing a paper. Like, wait, you want me to write a paper?
I can't write.
Right? Like, I remember the first time I had to like cite research and stuff again. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, right? Like, like you go through those moments, but I think it's everything you said is that, like, how do we push through that belief that we're an imposter to realize that no, we're just somebody who needs to learn something new, or no, we're just somebody who needs to work harder at this thing, and that the more we practice, the more time we put into it, we'll get better. And then you'll look back at this and be like, why did I think I couldn't do it? I just needed to give myself some grace and time to figure it out.
Right, exactly. It's a challenge. What you can do, put your mind to it, you can do it. There's no such thing as try.
Wait. Is it do? What does that mean? There's no such thing as try. I've heard people say that before, but I need an explanation.
I'm gonna give you an example right now. Try to say hi to me.
Hi.
Did you try, or you just said hi to me?
So the opposite of not trying is just to do.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just
like
do
Nike.
It. We Nike. Just do it. Just do it.
For sure.
Well, thank you, Trini. Always, you give us insight, you give us spiritual healing, you help us to know ourselves better, and I am always walking away with a little bit more knowledge of how to better my mind.
Well, thank you for always interrupting so that I can better your mind. And thank you all for watching us. Don't forget to check us out on our handles. Instagram for Maria at Brown Girl Interrupting. I have a few, but Instagram for me would be at Bettermindz LC. And check out my website, bettermindsmarket.com, and get some products, some clothing, all kinds of stuff. Yoda
says,
there you go. Star Wars fan, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so don't forget, go to Maria channel Sunday, Pain the Power, 9 p.m. and be back here next Thursday. Same bad time. We're diving in mental strength next Thursday. Same bad channel.
I love it. And thank you to all of the ones who came.
Frames defined by the mind frame that finds it and finds that the mind frame isn't refined, and then reminds it that it's the mind that must define itself to be defined, and then rewind itself to the infinite inception to remind itself to realign itself in the belly of the beast. It will find itself, but it's aligned itself. Different animal in the same beast. I'm on a different road in the same street. I don't think you understand me, dancing to my own rhythm while on the same beat. I am what I was and will be what I am and what I said that I was, and then do what I couldn't do when I was who I was, and now do what I want because I am what I am, and that's a mindset. It's 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 a mindset, brother. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, sister. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, nigga. It's a mindset. Yeah, I'm a walking affirmation, affirmed and amazing. Concerned and never worried, I'm firm and adjacent from the fears that I used to have, and I'm never complacent. And I never give up, and nothing I do is the basic. Everything is advancing toward advancement. Killing all negative vibes, you get to cancel it. If it was written, then I am the transcript. No bad vibes and good vibes is what I transmit. And every day of the week is the damn shit. And it's another chance that you can't advance with. And if you understand and forever stand in it and know who you standing with, I am what I was and will be what I am and what I said that I was, and then do what I couldn't do when I was who I was, and now do what I want because I am what I am, and that's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's 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 a mindset, brother. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, sister. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, nigga. It's a mindset.